Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a grown-up conversation. No sugarcoating, no games, just the raw truth. Because when it comes to sexual chemistry, especially from a woman's side, it's rarely spoken outright. But, oh, it's felt, strongly. When a woman is interested in a man on a deeper, more intimate level, her body will speak volumes before her lips ever do. And if you're paying attention, you'll notice it's in the subtle, unspoken cues, the kind that bypass logic and go straight to instinct. One of the strongest signs is how she positions her body around you. Is she leaning in when you speak, closing the gap between you when there's plenty of space around? That's not just comfort, that's attraction. She's subconsciously aligning her body with yours, letting her presence feel like an invitation. The eyes, they say, are windows to the soul, but in intimacy, they're also spotlights of intention. When a woman maintains steady eye contact, especially if her gaze lingers just a moment too long, she's expressing curiosity. If you catch her looking at your lips in between words or holding eye contact in silence without discomfort, that's a form of flirtation that doesn't need words. It's a soft signal. She's imagining more. Then there's the hair, the universal symbol of feminine energy. When a woman starts to play with her hair while talking to you, running her fingers through it, wrapping it around her finger, or flipping it to one side, it's often a subconscious move. It draws your eyes to her neck, her collarbone, her face. She knows exactly where your attention is going, and in most cases, she wants it there. Her gestures will soften too. There's a noticeable shift in tone. She may touch her lips lightly, smooth her dress, or adjust her posture to highlight her silhouette. These movements aren't rehearsed, they're instinctive. Her body wants to be seen, admired, desired, but only by someone she's already attracted to. She may also mirror your actions. If you lean in, she leans too. If you take a sip of your drink, she follows seconds later. Mirroring is a psychological sign of connection, but in romantic chemistry, it can be electric. She's syncing with you on a level that goes beyond just conversation. It's chemistry taking form, physically. Pay close attention to her feet and legs. Where her upper body may be composed, her legs might give more away. If her knees are pointed toward you, if she crosses and uncrosses her legs slowly, or shifts them in a way that draws attention, she's using body language to both express interest and test yours. Even the tone of her voice will change. Around someone she desires, her voice often becomes softer, more melodic. It slows down, becomes more deliberate, because now every word, every pause is part of the dance. Body language is not accidental. It's intentional without being deliberate. And when a woman is truly feeling you, really drawn to you, her body becomes a magnet. You won't need to guess. You'll just feel it. When a woman initiates physical contact, it's rarely accidental. Touch is a deeply personal form of communication, and for many women, initiating it is a bold signal wrapped in subtlety. It doesn't always scream desire, but it whispers it with intention. A light touch on your arm during conversation, brushing something imaginary off your shoulder, or playfully nudging you when she laughs. These small gestures are often her way of breaking down the wall of formality and saying, I feel safe around you, I'm comfortable, and maybe I want more. Think about it. We don't touch people we're not drawn to. We don't reach across boundaries unless we're testing the water or giving permission for closeness. So when she takes that step first, it's not just casual. It's a green light wrapped in politeness. It's her saying, let's shift the energy between us. Often, the touch will start playfully. Maybe she gives you a high five and lets her hand linger for a beat too long. Maybe she finds excuses to touch your hand while making a point, or she rests her hand briefly on your knee in a moment of excitement or shared laughter. These aren't coincidences. They're carefully placed cues. They're her body's way of saying something her words won't dare to say just yet. You might notice her becoming more tactile as the conversation deepens or as the chemistry builds. Her fingers might graze yours when you hand her something, or she might lean into you slightly when you're sitting side by side. She'll look for ways to create closeness, not with grand gestures, but with proximity and contact that feels effortless yet meaningful. And it's not just where she touches you, but how. Is her touch soft and lingering? Does it come with eye contact, a smile, or a subtle pause? All of these are signs that her touch is meant to be felt, not forgotten. It's an invitation, not to act, but to notice. Timing also plays a huge role. If these touches come during moments of vulnerability, shared jokes, or when the conversation dips into something more personal, the intimacy behind them increases. She's using touch as a bridge, one that connects emotion to physicality. Sometimes she may touch you in ways that seem practical, like adjusting your collar or fixing your hair. But don't miss what's beneath that gesture. It's not about your collar. It's about closeness. It's about getting past the usual boundaries of space and making you feel seen, touched, and maybe even wanted. When a woman initiates touch, especially consistently, she's not just being friendly. She's creating tension, the good kind, the kind that says, "I'm feeling something between us, and I want to see if you feel it too." And once touch enters the dynamic, the space between two people shifts. It becomes charged, intimate, and undeniably intentional. When a woman is truly attracted to a man, her conversation naturally starts to shift from surface-level talk to something more emotionally and physically charged. It's not just what she says, it's how she says it. The tone changes. Her voice might soften, drop a little lower, or slow down. Her words become laced with undertones, teasing, playful, and subtly daring. She starts testing boundaries, not by being overt, but by seeing how you respond to her energy. Suddenly, the conversation that began with lighthearted banter takes on a slightly more suggestive edge. Maybe she starts complimenting you, not just on your smile or your personality, but your scent, the way you walk, the tone of your voice. Compliments become more personal, more specific. That's not just admiration, that's desire taking form through words. Flirty remarks often come in the form of challenges or light teasing. She may playfully say things like, "I bet you're trouble," or "I can't decide if you're sweet or dangerous." These kinds of lines are not random. They are an invitation for you to play along, to match her flirtation with your own. It's her way of exploring chemistry without stepping too far, too fast. You'll also notice that she starts steering the conversation toward more sensual topics. She might bring up late-night thoughts, dreams, or past romantic experiences in a lighthearted way. She may ask you about your preferences, what you find attractive in someone, how affectionate you are in relationships, or how you define intimacy. These questions are loaded. She's not just curious. She's collecting information, trying to figure out if the chemistry she's feeling is mutual and if you're aligned in more than just surface attraction. Then there's the use of humor, but not just any kind. It's flirtatious, a bit bold, sometimes suggestive. She might throw in innuendos or double meanings, watching closely how you react. If you catch on and play along, it builds tension. If you shy away or miss the cue, she'll either back off or try again more subtly. And the timing of these flirty shifts is important. It often happens when the two of you are alone, when the atmosphere feels more intimate, maybe during a late-night conversation, over dinner, or in a quieter moment when the mood naturally leans into closeness. That's when her guard comes down and her true thoughts start slipping through her words. She might also use silence more intentionally. Long pauses, holding your gaze as she waits for you to respond to a teasing question. The silence isn't awkward, it's charged. It's her way of letting the moment breathe, letting you feel the weight of her words and the possibilities they carry. When conversations begin to turn sensual or flirty, she's not just making small talk. She's opening a door, slowly, carefully, and deliberately. And the question is, are you paying attention to what she's really saying beneath the surface? When a woman begins to mention being alone or subtly invites you into private settings, it's rarely by chance. These kinds of comments or suggestions are often layered with deeper meaning, and if you're tuned in, you'll realize she's testing the emotional and physical tension between you. It's her way of offering an opening, not a direct invitation, but a hint that she's open to a more intimate experience if the connection feels right. She might casually say things like, "I've got the place to myself this weekend," or "It's so quiet at home tonight." On the surface, it sounds like a normal statement. But when it's said in a certain tone or at a specific moment, maybe after hours of deep conversation or light flirting, it becomes a soft invitation. She's letting you know that she's in a space where closeness can happen, away from the outside world, without interruptions. Sometimes the invitation is even more subtle. She might suggest watching a movie at her place instead of going out, or mention how cozy her apartment is when it rains. These comments are strategic. They create a picture in your mind, one that includes you in her private space, where the lighting is softer, the conversations deeper, and the atmosphere more emotionally charged. She may also mention feelings of boredom or restlessness when she's alone. This isn't just a cry for entertainment. It's her way of saying she's craving a certain kind of company. And if she says it to you specifically, it means she sees you as someone she'd potentially welcome into her world, not just publicly, but behind closed doors. Another sign to watch for is when she makes plans that naturally allow privacy. Maybe she invites you over to cook together, or says she has a bottle of wine she's been saving for the right company. These moments aren't accidental. They're curated. She's setting a scene that is safe, familiar, but filled with potential intimacy. What makes this even more telling is how she responds when you agree. If she lights up, becomes more affectionate, or more playful, it's a sign that she wasn't just making small talk. She was hoping for that response. She was creating an opportunity, not just for time together, but for emotional and physical closeness. These privacy-based signals are powerful because they're wrapped in normalcy. A simple, "You should come by sometime," may sound casual, but it can carry deep intent depending on timing, tone, and context. When a woman is opening her personal space to you, she's not just sharing her couch or kitchen, she's sharing her vulnerability, her trust, and her desire to connect beyond the surface. Not all invitations mean something more, but when you combine them with other subtle signs of attraction, the looks, the laughs, the touches, they start to paint a very clear picture. She's not just alone. She's ready for connection, and she's letting you know you might be the one she wants it with. When a woman becomes genuinely curious about your sexual energy, it often signals a deeper level of attraction that moves beyond casual interest. She's no longer just enjoying your company. She's beginning to wonder what it would feel like to be close to you in an intimate, vulnerable way. And while she may not always come right out and say it, her curiosity will show up in the form of questions, compliments, and subtle shifts in conversation that signal her growing desire. It usually starts with questions that seem innocent, but are loaded with intention. She might ask, "Are you affectionate?" or "What's your love language?" These aren't random icebreakers. She's trying to assess how you express physical intimacy, how you connect with someone emotionally, and whether you're the kind of man who knows how to read and respond to desire. Her curiosity might also lead her to bring up topics related to past relationships, not to pry, but to learn about your patterns, your preferences, and how you've handled passion in the past. Questions like, "Were you the romantic type?" or "What's something a partner loved about you?" are subtle invitations to open up and show her what kind of lover you are, emotionally, mentally, and physically. You may notice that the way she speaks starts to carry a more charged tone. She might compliment your voice, your hands, your presence. These are physical compliments, but they're not shallow. They're clues. She's drawn to your energy, to how you make her feel just by being around. She's wondering, consciously or not, what that energy might feel like up close, in silence, in the dark. The timing of this curiosity is key. It often emerges after she's spent enough time with you to feel safe and connected. Once emotional trust is established, her mind begins to wander into deeper territory, and when that happens, her questions become more direct. She may ask, "Are you dominant or more gentle?" Or, "What turns you on in a woman?" These aren't just fun topics. They're her way of envisioning herself with you, seeing how compatible your desires and rhythms might be. You might also notice her testing the waters with light flirtation, maybe even sending you hypothetical scenarios. Would you kiss someone on the first date? Or, what would you do if we were alone right now? These are playful, but make no mistake, they're intentional. She's watching how you respond, looking for confidence, sensual awareness, and self-control. Because it's not just about sex, it's about how you carry that energy, how present you are, and whether she feels both excited and emotionally safe in your presence. When a woman is curious about your sexual energy, it's because she feels something potent between you. A spark, a pull, a quiet thrill. She wants to explore it, but only if she senses you'll know how to handle her openness with care, confidence, and respect. When a woman starts sending you texts and making calls that become increasingly suggestive at night, it's often a powerful sign that her mind is drifting toward you in ways that go beyond casual interest. The daytime conversations might still be fun and light, but something about the night, its silence, its stillness, creates the perfect space for deeper desires to surface. And if you're the person she's reaching out to during those late hours, chances are you're the one she's thinking about most intimately. It might start with a simple, "Hey, you up?" or "I can't sleep." On the surface, it could seem innocent, but context is everything. These late-night messages aren't just about passing time. They're about connection. They carry a different energy. The tone becomes softer, more intimate, and often more flirtatious. She's not just checking in. She's inviting you into her thoughts, into her mood, and possibly into her fantasies. Her texts may become more emotionally vulnerable, more curious, or more playful. She might say things like, "I had the weirdest dream about you," or "I was just thinking about that thing you said, and it made me smile." These are gentle entry points. She's not laying it all out, but she's creating space for a more sensual or emotional exchange. As the nights go on, her messages may include more emojis, the wink, the smirk, the fire, or the one biting its lip. These aren't random. Emojis can carry unspoken meanings, especially when paired with certain words or teasing statements. She might start talking about how cozy her bed is, how quiet it is without someone there, or how she wishes she had company. Again, she's not being direct, but she's absolutely being intentional. Voice notes might enter the picture, and with them, a noticeable change in tone. Her voice becomes softer, more relaxed, perhaps even a bit slower. She's letting you hear her, not just her words, but her mood. And when a woman lets you hear her like that, especially at night, she's opening a private part of herself. She may also become more responsive to your flirty remarks during these late hours. What might have been brushed off or laughed at earlier in the day now gets a slower reply, a interesting, or a "you're trouble, aren't you?" This means her guard is down and she's letting the emotional tension rise without interrupting it. Timing matters. At night, we're more emotionally exposed. The day's distractions are gone. If she chooses those quiet hours to reach out to you consistently, and especially if those conversations start leaning into physical compliments, shared fantasies, or what-if scenarios, you're not just someone she enjoys talking to. You're someone she's emotionally and physically drawn to. These late-night exchanges are never just about small talk. They're intimate previews, little doors she's leaving open, waiting to see if you're bold, aware, and respectful enough to walk through them. When a woman responds well to escalation, it's one of the clearest signs that she's comfortable with your energy and possibly open to a more intimate connection. Escalation, in this context, doesn't mean being aggressive or pushy. It's about the natural, respectful progression of closeness. It's about the way you flirt, touch, or compliment her, and how she reacts to those subtle shifts in energy. If she meets your moves not with resistance but with receptiveness, even reciprocation, it's a signal that she's in tune with you and what's developing between you. It often starts with small things. You make a flirtatious remark, and instead of brushing it off or changing the subject, she smiles, leans in, or throws something playful back your way. That's not just her tolerating your energy, it's her feeding into it. Her eyes might light up, her body language becomes more open, and she may even initiate the next playful push. These moments of back and forth are the foundation of escalating chemistry. When you compliment her, particularly in a way that focuses on her sensuality, maybe something like, "You have the kind of presence that's hard to ignore." Pay attention to her reaction. If she blushes but holds eye contact, if she smiles and says something like, "Oh, really? And what exactly is it you can't ignore?" That's her not only receiving the compliment, but encouraging the moment to deepen. She's comfortable with the rising tension. Physical escalation is even more telling. You touch her hand or place a hand gently on her back, and she doesn't pull away. Maybe she even leans into it, lingers in the moment, or places her hand on yours in return. That's not neutral behavior. It's warm acceptance. She's matching your vibe, signaling safety, interest, and possibly desire. The more emotionally tuned she is, the more deliberate her responses will become. She may lower her voice, slow her speech, or speak with a more intentional softness. These are cues that she's not just reacting, she's actively engaging with the energy you're creating. She wants to feel it evolve, to see where it goes. Another sign is her willingness to stay in moments that have romantic or sexual tension. When you look at her a little longer than usual and she doesn't look away. When you bring up a topic that has sensual undertones and she leans into the conversation instead of dodging it, that's her giving you silent permission to keep going. She's not only open to escalation, she's enjoying it. What truly defines her positive response is consistency. A one-time smile doesn't say much, but repeated reactions that align with your energy, that's meaningful. She's showing you that she's comfortable, connected, and perhaps curious about what more could feel like. When a woman welcomes and encourages emotional and physical escalation, she's not just enjoying the moment, she's co-creating the experience with you. When a woman begins to show you her feminine vulnerability, it's a powerful and intimate sign that she's emotionally opening herself up to you. This type of vulnerability isn't about weakness, it's about trust, depth, and emotional presence. It's the moment when she allows you to see the parts of herself that are usually guarded, her desires, her fears, her softness, and her unfiltered truth. And when this side of her begins to surface in your presence, especially alongside other signs of attraction, it's a clear indication that something deeper is unfolding. You'll notice she starts to share more about her emotions, not just her day-to-day routine or surface-level experiences, but what she truly feels. She may talk about things that have hurt her, situations that made her feel exposed, or moments that shaped her as a woman. These stories are not shared with just anyone. They are reserved for people who make her feel emotionally safe, people she feels connected to on a real level. If she shares them with you, it's because she trusts you enough to hold her softness without judgment. Her vulnerability might also come through in moments of silence. Maybe she looks at you a certain way, not with flirtation, but with a kind of quiet longing. There's a softness in her eyes, a stillness in her presence, like she's letting you see her. No performance, no front, just her. This kind of rawness is often more telling than words. She might speak about her desires, not always directly sexual, but emotional, sensual, relational. She might say things like, "Sometimes I just want someone to hold me," or "I miss feeling deeply connected." These statements aren't random. They are confessions of a feminine heart, and when she feels safe enough to express them around you, it's because something in you makes her feel like she can. There's also a chance she'll talk about her insecurities, not fishing for validation, but expressing her humanness. She might open up about feeling unworthy at times, about struggling with confidence, or about past relationships that made her question herself. When a woman reveals these parts of herself, she's not just talking. She's trusting you with pieces of her identity. She's saying, without saying it directly, "Here's who I really am. Can you still see me the same way?" You may also notice her dropping her usual guard, the polished exterior, the sarcastic remarks, or the confident front, and simply being soft. She might rest her head on your shoulder, touch your hand more gently, or allow a few moments of quiet closeness to stretch without needing to fill the space. That physical and emotional softness is her feminine vulnerability in motion. And while all of this may not seem bold or obvious, make no mistake, it's one of the most powerful forms of intimacy a woman can offer. When she chooses to show you her feminine vulnerability, she's not just being emotional, she's letting you into the most sacred, unguarded part of herself. So, what does it all mean when a woman shows these 6 powerful signs? The body language that draws you in, the subtle touches she initiates, the way her words become more playful, sensual, and flirtatious. When she starts inviting you into her personal space, gets curious about your sexual energy, responds well to your escalation, and slowly reveals her feminine vulnerability.